So what we're going to talk about today is how to connect with influencers in your field, how to connect with people that are farther along the line. What you're going to explore is different strategies that you can use. And the reason why I will recommend you to use this part, which is under the module of association, is because when you are associating yourself with someone who is more known than you or in your field, what happened is that, let's say you are here and you're starting out and someone is up there, then people are going to see you not as up there, but they're not going to see you also the last, like at the bottom. And so what, and in particular, that works in every stage, in every situation. And that's why it has been one of the biggest things that that I have to admit, this has been one of the keys of GTeX growth. That instead of just, kind of playing in all the same circles, so I really made an effort to connect with influencers in my space, to get associated with them. And of course, they were all people that I respected, all people that I really liked and that I really loved, the people that I connected with. And but at the same time, it gave me that extra credibility that when people said, when people were looking at my profile, they said, oh, wow, like, this person knows this stuff. And that's what we are creating. This part of the four pillars of the profile builder. We have speaking, we have association, we have awards, and we have publication. So this is the part of association. Now, this works as well if you're running a company and you want to get connected with corporate clients. For example, that's how we've been building this, using this strategy for our corporate company, which Ben runs, the sales training for recruitment agencies. Because the very first contract that Ben had, so to give you a bit of history of GTeX, I went I was the first one going full-time in GTeX about 6 years ago. And I was earning a great salary of about £500 a month, which made sure that I just basically had my rent cover. And the rest I was using other contracts to support me in working in schools, working with other organizations, and they were sending me in schools, and that's where I could get the rest of the money to support the company and to support myself. And Ben was working in the corporate side, and Ben had about 5 jobs before he actually was full-time in GTeX with a proper salary. The first time we're like, oh, we made it. So Ben quit his job after 2 months. And can you get a job again? Then about 6 months down the line, oh, we made it. And can you get a job again? That happened 5 times over about the 3-year period. That was the reality of the situation because we just didn't have enough in the company to sustain 2 full-time salaries, plus the assistant, plus the renting the rooms for the venues and so on. And also Ben always wanted to build the corporate side of the business. So what he did, he actually got a job for the Adecco Group, which is the largest recruitment agency in the world, with the idea to leverage in the future the work that he did for the Adecco Group to do his private consulting and do the part of the sales training that he always wanted to do privately. But because when we started, it was at the time he was 24. The majority, the average age of sales training in the corporate space is about 45. So there is a gap in age that then creates a trust issue. And so what we needed to do to bridge that gap was to say, okay, in what other ways we can show that we know our stuff? In what other ways Ben can show that he knows his stuff? And that's how actually the work that he did, he worked full-time in Adecco for 1.5 years. And then as soon as he came out of Adecco, when he pitched, I think it took him 2 months to get a contract that then built into a 6-figure contract. In fact, we had one client that was just giving us 6-figure a year as a contract for GTeX. Now, this would not have happened without the credibility that we got from the association with the Adecco Group, because that was the way in. It was like, hey, I did this for this company, which is the #1 in the world. Do you want me to do this for you? That's the pitch. And that's the association that people makes in their mind. So what I'm going to do during this session is to split this into different levels. So we're going to talk how can you use association if you are starting out, because we use association when we started out in GTeX, when we're running events. GTeX started as an event company. Our first event was in that bloody farm in Acne. That's when we started. And actually, Keith, man, like you were, I think, like the second or third speakers that we had there. And can you just share a bit more about that? I'm like, I've unmuted you. Okay, no, go for it. Have you?
Yeah, I remember that.
You
Gosh,
remember?
that farm, that was good fun. That was good fun. Yeah, yeah, it was the second or third event that you put on there, and you very kindly invited me to speak. I happened to be back in the country at that point because I was living and working over in Bali at the time, and I happened to be back in the UK for a few 2 or 3 weeks, I think it was, and
Yeah.
yeah, that was the very first public outing of my my 3-piece speaker outfit as well. You know, the waistcoat, the bow tie, and everything. That was the very first outing of that. Was at
And
the GTeX event.
it was so funny because like Keith turned up all suited and booted, and then we are like in the middle of this farm. So
It worked.
It worked. But so thank you very much, Keith. So one of the strategies we used, even at the very beginning with GTeX, when we didn't have any coaching client, not even private clients, it was to tap into our networks of people that have been doing this work for longer than us, and then leverage from their credibility, leverage from the connections that they had, which means that we were creating some small events. In this case, we couldn't afford anything, so we got a farm. And then we ran a series of about 8-9 events. And that was the very start of GTeX, where we had people that were connected with our network. They were coming in. And because we've been doing this for longer than us, they were not the Les Brown, they were not the Gary Vee, but they were people that definitely were better than us at what they were doing. Then the perception of people that slowly started changing, instead of who are these two kids that are running, that are saying they want to change the world, to, okay, like I can trust and then I can work with you. And then we use that to leverage the credibility to pick up one-to-one clients. And that was the very beginning. So association has been always key. Now, different strategies to use association. I'm going to talk first in connecting with the celebrities in your field or authorities in your field or people that are farther along the line. And then I'm going to talk about how do you use that for corporate as well. So I'm going to break it down in these 2 parts. And for every part, I'm going to break it down as this is what you do if you are at the beginner stage, if you're just starting out. This is what you do if you already have a more established brand. So that's the distinction I'm going to make. Then on these strategies, I want you to write them all down. And then what I want you to do is then to open up for a discussion. So if you have any question on how do you implement it in your side, then I'm going to answer those questions there. So that's the structure of the call today. Sounds cool? Can I have a whoop whoop of agreement? We got this? All right. Awesome. So let's get started with the first part of the strategy. The first part of the strategy is what do you do if you want to connect with influencers, in particular, if you are starting out. Now, if you are starting out, it's very unlikely, unless you have a personal introduction, a direct introduction, you are going to connect with the top one in their field, unless you pay them money. So remember, money buys access. So you want to connect with someone at the top of their industry, you pay to work with them, you have access to them. That's the quickest way. Okay. But if, let's say, you're starting out and you don't want to spend a lot of money to get access to that person that you want to connect with, what I want you to do is to start from something to start connecting with someone that is a bit farther along the line, but is not too far from your reach. Now, the reason why is because you want to go down the path of least resistance. If you say, I'm starting out and no one knows me, and now I want to connect with Oprah, good luck. Good freaking luck. But if you're saying, I'm starting out. Let me connect with this person a bit further along the line. And then what happens is that they have a network as well. They have a network of people that are at the same level of them, or people that are a bit further along the line. So then what we are then doing, we are tapping into their network and ask them to make introductions and connections. Then we are going to the introduction and connections of the other person, and we are asking them to make that introduction and connection. Then we are tapping into the introduction and connection of the other person. And then you see how now, starting from just someone is a bit farther along the line than you are, now you can reach someone who is one of the top people in their field. And how do you connect with them? Well, it's not about, hey, I would love to connect with you. It's like, and what? Why do you want to connect with me? But what is that they want? It's always thinking about what is that this person wants. There are a few different ways in which you connect with people farther along than your field. One is doing an interview with them. So I would recommend everyone here, either to have a podcast or to have a series where you interview people. You can do that on Facebook Live. It doesn't matter if you are, if you don't have many people following you, don't worry about that. The people that you're connected with a bit further along the line, they will want to work with you as a personal favor. Like a lot of people that were coming and speak to our event, they were not doing because we could provide them access to hundreds of people. We didn't have them. But they did it because they wanted to support us. And so at the beginning, you're like, hey, do you want to come? I'm doing this. And some people say, yeah, sure. Why not? And that's what I'm doing. Like, so there are some times that I'm doing interviews very strategically because I want to grow my audience. But other times someone approaches me and say, I would love to interview you. It's the first time I'm doing an interview. If I got time and I like this person, I would say yes, absolutely. Because I know that I'm giving back to them. Like there were people that would give back to me and to GTeX when I started. So that's the best way. So if you have an interview series, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on podcast, whether it's if you like writing, you can interview them and then write an article about them. That's a great way to get access, because what you're doing is you're saying, I would love to give something to you. So that's one way. The other way, if you're starting out, is to get involved into projects where those people are involved in. So I'll give you an example of how I got involved with the event with Les Brown. And that was the turning point of GTeX. Les Brown event was always has been the turning point of GTeX. How did I get in touch with Les Brown? There was a woman that organized an event for Les Brown in London. And what I did, I saw in the event page, I saw who the organizer was, and I connected with her on social media. I said, hey, Althea, that was her name. Would you like, I see that you're putting this event with Les Brown. Do you need any help? I've been running a few events myself. If you need any help crewing or support, then let me know. I'm here to support you. Now, of course, like my intention was, I want to connect with Les Brown. That was the way to connect with him. But I needed to come in and say, okay, what can I bring to the table? Because when there is an event organizer that is bringing in a big name, everyone wants to take from them. Everyone wants to connect with them. Everyone wants a piece of them. And not many people actually are saying, how can I support you? Do you need any help? And for that event, I burst my arse off. I really burst my, I spent like hours on the phone with Althea, helping her out with her event, giving advice, sometimes just being a sounding board. And what happened is that I also dropped the fact that I was an MC, that I had MC training, that I could MC events in our conversation. Now, what she did then, a few days before the event, she said, well, I'm too overwhelmed. Can you take over the MC part? But how many people asked Althea to become the MC of the event? Hundreds. Why did I get it? It is because I spent a lot of time building the relationship with her and giving value. And so this is another way in which you can connect with the other influencers. If you see that there is someone else that is bringing them in, what you're doing, you can approach them and say, what can I do for you? How can I work for you? Everyone loves work for someone works for them for free. They're not going to say no. If someone is bringing out a big name, whether it's online or offline, whether it's the situation, they need help. Whether it's help promoting, whether it's help with the backend, whether it's help with the managing the event or managing the online thing, whether it's event helping sending emails, whatever help, they will need help. And so now that's your way in. That's your way to connect with the other person. Now, I use this strategy also to get the gig with Gary Vaynerchuk, with Gary V. We organized an event with Gary V with 500 people. How did it happen? I sent a message to the person who was organizing the event. And I said, now I could leverage Les Brown events though, right? I said, hey, I've done this for Les Brown. Do you need any help with your event? And so that's why they said yes. And then I spent a lot of time sorting the events out. We actually spent a lot of time collecting all the crew and managing the entire event at the end. And we could say that we worked in an event with Gary V. Now, you can see that there is a lot of work to do behind the scene to connect with the top influencers. But I gotta say that I'm using those pictures and those case studies and those testimonials till now. And the event with Les Brown happened 4.5 years ago, or 4 years ago. The event with Gary V happened 3 years ago. And they are still there with me. I will keep using them for the next 10, 15 years. So it is a work that you're putting up front. But then once you have those pictures, once you have those connections, once you have those interviews, you can leverage them forever. So that's when you're starting out. So look at finding someone who's just further on the line, get them an interview, and then ask them, who are you connected with that could be a good fit? And they will recommend you. And then suddenly you will be connecting with people that you cannot even imagine right now. Like one of the ways, this is also how I got on as featured on the podcast, which is called Entrepreneur on Fire from Jolly Dumas. If you don't know that podcast, it's like one of the top business podcasts in the world. They got millions and millions of listeners. I think I got about like 400 LinkedIn connections just after that podcast. That was insane. Now, I pitched that bloody guy for about 3 years. Nothing, not even a response, whether it was on social media, by email, no. But what happened, because I had a podcast, I was interviewing people and I got to connect with a guy called Kavit Harriet. Now, Kavit is a good friend of John Lee Dumas. And when I did the interview with Kavit, he said, oh, have you been on Entrepreneur on Fire? I was like, no, I haven't, but I would really love to. I've been pitching that bloody guy for about 3 years and didn't get back to me. And then Kavit said, I got you covered, don't worry. Let me introduce you to him. I was like, oh my God, I love you. And so that's how I got that interview. So that goes to show that whatever you're doing now, if you're having a podcast or a series of interview and you're doing it consistently, then you never know who you're going to connect with, because what you're doing, you're not tapping on all in that person, but you're tapping into their network. And that's when things are really growing, as we say here, exponentially. Now, let's go to if you are, and in fact, glad why I love that. It is very nice to always give back. Absolutely. Thank you, Glad. Now, let's go to if you are already established. Let's say you already have people featuring you, you already have a following, you already have some people that you work with great case studies. What do you do in that scenario? One of the best things that you can do now that you have already a good profile is to approach the person you want to approach directly and either do some work with them for free. Again, like free work gets you everywhere. But now you can approach them directly. And if you have a skill that they need, you say, hey, I would love to help you out. I'm not expecting anything in return. What happens is that most of the time they will at least give you a case study. What you want is a case study that you can associate of the work that you've done with this person. Now, if you do that, again, it will stay with you forever. Or let's say you have now a podcast, or you have like Keith, I know, has a book series. So already there is a lot of credibility established around that part. Then already you can pitch a top influencer. I think, Keith, you had some forwards written for your book from some quite influential people, if I remember well.
Yeah, I've had forward written by your good self, which was excellent. I've had forward written by a top coach from Australia who was one of the contestants in the original Australian Big Brother series. And I had a chapter written by a guy who created one of the largest personal development companies in the world.
And how did you get to connect with it? Apart from me, we knew each other for a long time.
Yeah.
But
and I had a chapter also from an Olympian. I got to connect certainly with the guy who ran the personal development company. I started off taking some of his trainings, which obviously he didn't train. One of his trainers trained. Worked my way through all of that stuff. Connected with him when he happened to deliver a training. Started working more closely with him as he was doing his Mastermind. As a result of that, I ended up going out, working with him in Bali, and from that, got him to do to do a chapter. And it was through him that I connected with the Olympian and with the Big Brother contestant as well.
There you go. So tapping into their network, right? So thank you very much for sharing, Keith. So now see where you are. See where you are in terms of, if you are starting out and there is people like you don't have a following, there are people that are not following you, for example, or you don't have a list or a big one, or don't have an established broadcast. Start something around those lines, whether it's a podcast, whether it's an interview series on Facebook, whether it's an interview that you're doing with them over the phone or Zoom and you're putting that on YouTube, or you're writing an article about it. It will help you massively tapping into their network, because you know what happens as well. What happens is that whenever you put something online, it will stay there. So I want to show you something. In our YouTube channel, the majority of the visits that come to our YouTube channel is not for people searching for my topic. It's for people searching the name of the guests that we had. So we have a video that has more than like 2,000 views on our YouTube channel. And that's because 2,000 people were looking for that person, because you can see the searches and where the people are seeing your content. And so a lot of people, they now come across to our website or to our YouTube channels or to our resources when they type the name of someone else. That's how the power of association digitally online, when now you can pop up even in the search of someone else, and guess what? They will now be connected with you. They will now build a relationship with you. They will now start following you. And again, see you as even more credible than you are. So that's a great strategy to use. These are the two variations, whether you're starting out or whether you're a bit more established. Before I go into the corporate one, does anyone have a pressing question to ask at this point before I go into the strategy of leveraging corporate? Feel free to unmute yourself. Remember, not every question is a good question. Yes, okay. Go, Marianne. Unmute yourself, please. You have to unmute yourself. You're still muted. Okay, I've unmuted you now. Okay, that's good.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, when you said about starting out and looking and doing like either the internet or the podcast, because I'm a bit sort of new with technology, or I'm afraid a bit, to be honest. I'm pushing myself to be more with it. How for someone to find it easier, how do I sort of start that starting point?
Can you use Zoom, like this platform?
Yes. I'm learning how to use it properly now.
Okay. So that's the easiest way. That's one of the easiest way. Or the other way, if you want to write an article and make it even easier, you can have a phone call with them And then after the phone call, then you are going to write the article featuring their thoughts. So that's another way. But Zoom is pretty straightforward. You need a link and you need to press record like we are doing. So play around a bit with Zoom, and then that's all you need. You don't, like, even when I'm doing all my interviews, I'm doing what with Zoom, press record, and they are there.
Okay, and to find, I suppose I need to do a lot of research on what I really want to do, isn't it? Because I've got an idea, but it's knowing how to portray that, if that makes sense.
Well, it's almost like at the beginning, you don't need to overcomplicate it. When we started with GTeX, we had no clue about what direction we wanted to take. We knew that we wanted to connect with cool people, with interesting people. So think about some interesting people that you have in your field that you want to ask them a few questions, or you want to learn from them. Because the idea is that you are going to, every time even I'm finding a guest for my show, I want to find someone that I'm actually genuinely interested to understand and to learn from them. Because the assumption is if I'm interested, the people that are following me will be interested too. Right?
Thank you. Okay.
So find someone that you're interested in and don't overcomplicate it. Then the clarity will come with the process. But at the beginning, if you don't have already an idea of a show or something, so I just want to do this interview to feature people that I find fascinating. That's it.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Answered my question. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anyone has any other question? Okay, so what I'm going to move now is on the corporate side. So let's move on the corporate side. How do you connect with organizations to then use their logos and their testimonials to increase your profile and the attraction that your profile can have? Strategy at the beginning, if you are at the very beginning, it's pretty straightforward. Either you, again, pitch, hey, I would love to do this work for free. Remember, free work gets you everywhere. I know it is something that I've learned when I was in the catering industry. Every restaurant I want to work in, I went, hey, can I do a shift for free for you? And then I showed them what I was capable of. And then by the end of the evening, I was hired. That's how I ended up working my way up to managing a Michelin-star restaurant when I was 19. I started doing a lot of free work for a lot of different restaurants. And then the opportunity of managing a restaurant then came. So let's look at, one is to pitch them for free work. The other one is actually to get a contract or a job in a company that you would like to work with or to work for. Again, there are a lot of open contracts that you can find on job boards. And that's something, no one can take away the work that you do for them. Even if you don't do it for your business, but you have a contract or you're employed, the work that you did and the results that you had with them, they're still things that you did. So, and right now, in fact, I want you to think about what companies maybe have you worked with, either that you had a contract, that are known, that are respected, that you could use in your marketing material. Because everything, yeah, see Antonia that is doing is, can you mute yourself? Tell me your thought process, Antonia. I think you're having like a what the fuck moment.
Yeah, I never thought about bringing the corporates I worked as an employee and where I learned. And even people, yeah, it even gets bigger because I worked for some time for one of my teachers. Yeah, it's a big one. And what you said before with when we have pictures with them, because I supported an event with Bruce Lipton. I was doing the camera, and I have a picture with him.
I love Bruce.
I was taking care of him and his wife in the break, so that he would drink and that he would have a break. So there was no interview, but I have the picture, and we spend a lot of time. And in the future, I see me interviewing him. But to really put these pieces together, and it's at one of the company I worked for. So I never got this together, and it's just precious. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And
wow.
Everything you did is something that you can leverage. Everything you've done is something that you can leverage. And sometimes we don't credit ourselves enough for the work that we've done in the past. Or when we start something new, then we think, okay, we got to start from a blank new canvas. No, it's still your life. It's still the life that you're living in. That's not different. If I'm thinking about now, there are caveats. Of course, you can't claim this is my client, or you can't claim I have done work with this person if you haven't done it. But you can say organization I worked for or people I worked with. That's all you got to say. And then if someone wants to explore, then they will say, oh, how did you work with them? And then you explain it. But I never had that. I think once I had that question. Once. And I do quite a few presentations. I do quite a few. So it's not even someone say, oh, but I'm going to feel uncomfortable if they're saying there is nothing to hide. It's something, did you work for them as an employee? Great. You did great work for them if you did. So that's the message I want to put across here. Now, look at how can you get in and offer free work. And now, for example, one of the best ways, in this case on the corporate side, is to use LinkedIn. LinkedIn becomes your best friend. I want you to, if you're working in the corporate, you want to get into corporate, I want you to wake up in the morning and say, LinkedIn, I love you. I want you to go to bed in the evening and say, LinkedIn, I love you. You just got to love LinkedIn. And with LinkedIn, you can now find, if you a good search, who is the person who hires speakers or who hires trainers in that particular company. Now, the way you do it is to check HR. Like generally, it's the HR director that does the hiring. So you check HR, the HR department of the company you want to target, and then you send them a message and say, "Hey, I talk about X, Y, and Z. I think this will be useful for your employees because of this. Can I deliver one session for free? And then if you like it, we can discuss how we can work together." Now, again, this becomes a really good way, in particular during this time. If you're thinking about Ben's strategy to getting into corporate, we got 7 new potential clients. And the way we got these 7 new potential clients, considering that all the clients we had before, they stopped with us. So it's like, they stopped all at once, all in one day. It was a fun day. So we had to reinvent what we were doing because we were only delivering training in person. And so Benny was contacting, and Liz are contacting the different HR directors of companies. They're saying, hey, we are running this series of webinars. You can pick one for free. And then if you want, you can buy the next ones, but you can have one for free. Now, one company immediately said, I'm not going to hire you, but I'm taking the one for free. They were upfront. We said, okay, well, you pick the one for free. We'll deliver that to you anyway. Another company said, oh yes, I want the first one, but if we are going well, I want to buy this one and this one. They already said which one they're going to buy. And another company said, well, we don't have budget right now. We're not investing in training, but we spend a lot of money in training every year. If we like this webinar, then we are going to hire you for the next one, for when we are doing live training again, and because we have a strong budget for it. So that's how we use and get into corporate. Now, another client that we had in our lifetime members had a contract with John Lewis, for example, in this way, said, hey, he does employees' health and well-being. We went in, delivered a session for John Lewis in that way. It didn't come paid work. That wasn't paid, or he didn't have a contract with John Lewis later on. But what he had now, he said, I've worked with John Lewis. He has a testimonial. And so when he goes into companies, then he says, I've done this work for John Lewis. Do you want me to do it for you? So that's if you're starting out. Use LinkedIn, you approach, you offer something for free in exchange of case studies and testimonials. And then you say, hey, I've got these other things, because you can still win a paid contract anyway. If you are a bit more established on the corporate side, then the dynamic is different, because you don't want to go in for free. You want to immediately go for the paid contract. So now the differentiation is that when you're going in on the bigger one, what they generally do, they have an interview process and they have a bidding process. So they might interview different trainers at the same time and then check which one is the one that they want to hire in that sense. So what happened is that to work with a big company, the best thing you can do is to make friends inside the company. And I'm sure, we all know people. And I'm sure that you know someone in your network that you have a good relationship with that works for a company that you wouldn't mind doing some work for them. I am sure you do 100%. So what I want you to do at this point is like, look at your network and say, if I already am established and have got credibility on this, because now it's someone else that needs to sell you to their company, say, who can I approach that works in that particular company that can make an introduction, that connection? For example, one of the companies we are going after right now is Amazon. Ben is bidding for a contract for Amazon. It was supposed to start a conversation last month. Plan got a bit mixed up, so now we are having the conversation in June with them. But one of my best friends from Italy, she works in Amazon in the AWS services, which is the online management services that they run. And so what I did with her, I said, hey, Antonella, you work for Amazon right now. We would love some contracts with Amazon. Can you make an introduction? Can you make a connection? We already have the case studies, the credibility. Send them this and then see if they want to start a conversation with us. So again, already Ben started a conversation on one side, but we can start a conversation on the other side. So that's another way. So think about, you want to do work maybe for a company that will be really cool for you to have as a case studies or testimonial, whether it's a session, whether it's a contract. Who do you know that works in that company that you can touch base with? So to recap, this is what we talked about association. We talked about association to connect with influencers. We talked about association to connecting with companies. And we divided if you're starting out, what you do, and if you are already more established, what are the best strategies. Of course, there are other strategies, but these are the most effective ones. These are the ones that you will spend less time and give you the biggest result, or less money and give you the biggest result. So that's why I wanted to make it simple and not overwhelm you with these are the 500 different ways in which you can connect with an. No, just do these 3 and they will work. Just do. So now, having said that, I'm going to open up for questions. So I see already a question. Melanie, do you want to ask your question right now? I've unmuted you.
Thanks, Simone. That's really helpful. I don't know about you guys, but I feel resistance around selling, which is silly now because I've got a lot of really great testimonials from some big names. So, for example, I want to target more law firms. I used to be a lawyer. I was at law school with lots of people who now work for big companies. So we're connected, but we're not close. However, probably because I'm a coach and an empath and I just help other people the whole time, I feel resistance around just being like, I don't know, hi, Sarah, how are you doing? I wondered if you could connect me to someone senior at Linklaters or whatever. I always feel like that's really self-seeking. Is there a way that you can connect in a way that's authentic when actually you could just basically want something from someone that you kind of knew-ish?
Mm-hmm. That's a very good point. Start first with the people that you have a good relationship with, because then it doesn't feel like, oh, you're an opportunist. Like you have not contacted me for the past 15 years or 10 years, and now out of the blue because you want something.
Yeah.
So I will start from the people that you are really closely connected with. Now, most of the time, what I found is that it's more in our head that we overcomplicate things that what comes that the actual connection, because that can be actually also the starting point to rebuild the relationship. Now, I've connected with people saying, hey, I've seen that you're now working in that company. It's been 10 years we have not doing this. This is what I do now. So instead of, if you're not connected with someone for a long time, instead of going for immediately, hey, can you make a connection? It's like, I don't even know you anymore. So it would be very difficult for someone to make that kind of recommendation. But you say, hey, I've seen that you're working in this field. We haven't caught up for a while. Why don't we have a chat? And then you use that to rebuild the relationship. And, in the conversation, it will automatically, they will say, oh, what do you do? And what do you do? So what, and becomes that moment of connection again. And they say, you know what, if you know anyone in your company that you think can be a good fit, if there is any recommendation you can make, I would really appreciate it. And then you leave it there.
I just always feel, I know it sounds stupid, but like, so you're reaching out to someone, it'd be great to have a catch up, but I always feel like it's quite, well, ultimately you have an agenda. So, I mean, we all probably like people. I love people, so I'd be interested in catching up with people, but I just find it uncomfortable knowing that I have an agenda, even if it's just dropping something in.
Why do you feel uncomfortable?
Probably because I just give, like, oh, let me help you do this, let me help you. But, I don't expect, most people I don't think naturally want to necessarily give in the way that perhaps other personalities do. Like, obviously you're the kind of person that gives, Simone. But yeah, so maybe my expectation is most people wouldn't want to naturally give unless you gave them something. Sure.
Don't let your past experience define your future experiences. Because I think everyone as human being, we've all been hurt in some way or another, where in particular, if you're the kind of person that gives a lot, and we have people that are taking advantage of the nature that we have of giving. Remember also that if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah.
So you will have conversation with people that will say, oh, but you just called me for this. But you will have other conversation with people that they will say, oh yes, absolutely, let me make this introduction, because they are the type of personality that makes them feel good to make that introduction. But if you don't have the conversation in the first place, whilst you're doing it, you are assuming that you're already being annoying, or they already need something in return without even starting that conversation. So, and anyway, someone you're not talking to anyway.
Yeah.
So it ain't gonna change much. The only thing actually they're gonna say is that the only thing you're gonna gain is they give you the opportunity. If they don't give you the opportunity, then is anyway someone you haven't talked for the past 10 years or 5 years ago. Oh, I don't know. So I would come into the conversation with a space of connection. I really want to connect with this person and see if there is an opportunity. And there is nothing wrong in having that. There is nothing shady. There is nothing. You're doing great work. You're doing great work, and we are all connected with people. And as long as we go in from a place of connection, I want to connect with you. I want to see where you are. And you will find that naturally, actually, because of the conversation, you will end up helping them anyway. Because that's the person you are.
Yeah, exactly. That's
so
true.
They will tell you, oh, I'm working here. So I know this person. Would you like me to connect you with this? Or I got this book. That's how naturally you are. So don't even, you will give to them anyway. So don't be afraid of that, okay?
Yeah. Thanks. Good advice.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. Thanks, Simone.
All right, you're welcome. Other questions that we have at this point, either connecting with influencers or connecting with the companies based on the conversation we had so far. You gotta please unmute yourself.
Hello, it's Victor here.
Hey, man.
Yeah, I think mine just more as a comment. I can say everything you've said is definitely 100% valid, and I think the routes in which you've used and to get most of them, I think it's 100% solid. Because I think when I started speaking, sort of going to Nigeria and everywhere else, the first thing I did was who do I need to connect with, who's the biggest speaker, and I found people who were close to them until I got to them, kind of thing. And I think also serving people who run events, I think that's how I got to speak alongside Les Brown in New York, was starting from helping someone out at the event to like eventually found myself there. So I can say 100% everyone listening, what you just said is like the perfect little time and impact is massive. And like just comment the last, I've lost the name of the last person, the lady. I think what's key also, sometimes if you're not looking for something, you're not going to find it. But now that Simone has mentioned these things, you'd be amazed that when you go back and put a list of law firms that you really want to speak to, you find out that you suddenly spot names that you have not been seeing before, because now you're actually looking for it now. So your eyes are going to start seeing them. So I think that's another way to I sort of look at things too. So mine is more than just a comment. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Victor. Absolutely. And no, that's what you've been doing. I mean, what you've been doing when you're going and speak in Africa, when you're going and with the gig with Les Brown that you got, this strategy works. This strategy, they absolutely work. We have Lila. Lila, do you want to unmute yourself?
Hi there. Hi, Simone. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, loud and clear.
Cool. Yeah, so just listening to what you've been sharing, and as you know, I'm looking to launch these podcast interviews, and also kind of having gone through your training on it as well, mix it up with some of my own, like I think you called it like solo ones as well, where I'm just sharing content. So in terms of the purpose of this call today and how to connect with influencers in your field, and for me it's almost branding by association. So the industry is tech, that's kind of my focus in terms of clients, both individuals and corporate. So I've kind of brainstormed about 40 people I can approach quite easily and say, right guys, and because they've all moved on from Hewlett Packard, so it's like they're all in different companies now. It's not like I've got 40 people in HP. So I'm thinking it's almost, I think a lot of them will be, yeah, that's cool. But for those where it's like, well, what if they're thinking, what's in it for me? What's the answer other than, I mean, it's giving them exposure, but for some of those people, they may not recognize the benefits of that. And obviously for
why not? Why do you think they will not?
I don't know, because it's, I guess because some of them don't and this is from my experience when I was working there still, don't recognize the value of, for example, having that social media profile on LinkedIn and posting and sharing their points of view.
And not everyone is going to say yes. So come from the assumption that not everyone is going to say yes, but it's worth checking if this is a yes for them. Now, it doesn't have to be an hard sale or convincing them about why they need this, because at the end of the day, at the moment, you need them more than they need it. If they're not looking forward to it, they're not looking for it. So it might be worth to see people that have already done something similar that you are connected with, that you want to do it, because you already know that they are open to it.
Right.
So if you see that they've already released an interview, they've already done something similar, already that's a sign that they are open to it. That is something they would do.
Okay. And would, we talk about repurposing content.
Yes.
My thought process at the moment is to do the interview on Zoom and record it to then use that as a podcast. And is it okay to give them the offer of, obviously ask their permission? Can we then use the video footage on YouTube? So when I start my YouTube, I can then use that, or that's seen as not the right thing to do?
No, absolutely. Put it as part of the interview process. It's going to be a video interview. The videos will be used in the future for my YouTube channel. For them, they get double the hits. Because
I'm also thinking transcribe it as well. It could be like written interviews as well, which they'd probably prefer, I suspect. So it's promoting them, and all of it will be via mainly LinkedIn as a platform. So is that a positive thing in terms of? Absolutely.
So this is exactly what we do here. If I'm looking at our podcast, Naima is a profile builder member that we did the interview with. So we have the video, which is on YouTube that we did. And then that's the video of the interview, right?
Yeah.
Then we have the audio, which is the podcast one. And then at the bottom, we have the entire transcript of the interview.
And where have you got this? Is this all on your podcast page?
Yeah, that's on my podcast page. So in my podcast on my website, that's the framework that we use for everything. So there is, when we create the page, there is the video, because anyway, that creates even more SEO and backlinks that is on YouTube. Then there is the audio, which we use Anchor as a podcasting platform. Then we have, this is something like, this is the database that we are selling. So there is a pitch for every time. And then we have the introduction with the person, with the biography, with what we talk about, like 3 bullet points, the links of the guest, and then the things to promote. Apply for a call here, receive daily support, come and join the free group, and so on. And then we have the transcript of the interview. Now, the transcript is taken via Rev. There is no editing done on this transcript. So we use a tool called rev.com. You upload, we put the link, the YouTube link video, and automatically creates the transcript, and is about $1.25 a minute. So for an interview of 20 minutes, that's going to be about like $30, $35.
Okay. I like this actually, because I hadn't even thought of having all of the options in one place. I hadn't looked at your podcast page. So I thought it was just the podcast, but you've actually got, so if I click into it, I've got all 3 kind of...
You got all 3 the medium of consumption, because people love to consume things in different ways. Now, if you want, you can start in having everything all at once. Or if you want to start one at a time, you can start, let me just do either the transcript, or let me just do the interview, let me just do the video. And then you add things one at a time. So when I started, I didn't have the video. I only had the audio. That's when I started the first few episodes. Then I moved it and I added the video. And then I think last year, then we added the transcript.
Right.
But it's been like a 3-year process that we've been through.
Okay. And so is the kind of what's in it for them? Is it essentially it's exposure and helping them build their profile in the industry? Exactly.
Everyone wants it. Like, it's great. Every time you're interviewed, when someone now types your name, if I do an interview with you and someone types your name and there is an interview that you did with me, the perception that people have about you is even higher. Because now you are being the person that is being interviewed. You're the expert that is being interviewed in that field.
Right.
And that's how, when you have now a few of interviews then there is even in the corporate space, really a lot of talks about the importance of, building your personal brand now, even if you're working the job, not even just if you have your own business.
Which is exactly what I'm about, which is exactly why I think like aligning, if I'm asking the right questions to get them to talk about how they've established themselves by virtue of then relating it back to what I do in personal branding.
Thank you.
Okay.
Exactly. Right. Did I answer your question?
You did. Thanks so much.
Fabulous. So now we're going to Glad. I wanted to ask a question. Glad, I've unmuted you. How are you doing today?
Oh, yes, I'm okay. Thank you. How are you?
I'm really well. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, by the way, for the wonderful 3 days. It was fantastic. Learned a lot. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Bless you.
Thank you. First, I just want to first of all agree with Victor, what he was talking about, that once you decided that you want something, then you get the answer, because now you know what to look for. In African way, they always say you can always find a monkey if you're looking. If you go on top of the mountain looking for the monkey, you'll find one. Now my question is, what you just talked about LinkedIn. Because I am very new with techno in every way. I just connected with them. You said something, those words went so quick, everybody else would know what you say you need to look out for. So on this case, I am a person who is going on top of the mountain to find the mountain and don't know the road to it. So help me.
Okay, yes.
What words did you say I need to use again?
So I said LinkedIn.
Yes.
And then I said to look for companies, HR directors.
Companies, HR director. Yeah.
And so when you're on LinkedIn, there are, let me show you so I can screen share.
Thank you.
So then you can see it. Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Can. So you see here in the search bar, if I type HR director, and then you say in people, you see, it gives you in job, in people, in group. I want to find it in people.
Yes.
And then you click there. And then you see here, and then you're going to be able to see the recording of this. So You see here that you have all filters.
Yes.
So now if you click all filters, and now it gives you different ways in which you can connect. So the person now is going to be an HR director. But if you want, I want an HR director that worked in an industry of marketing, for example, marketing and advertising. And I want someone who is, in terms of connection, you can leave it open. So now what I'm doing is, you can see I've got 39,000 people that are HR director here.
Yes.
Which are a lot. So I can go back to all filters and I say, actually, I want to find all the HR directors that are in London.
Yes.
So here the location, you press London and you press apply. So now instead of having 39,000 people, I got 1,700 people. Right? And so now you can connect with them and then send them a message. Do you want me to repeat the message as well?
Yes, please. That was so nice, and it went too quick for me.
Okay,
yes,
so say in the message you're going to write, "Hi, my name is Glad."
Yes.
And I work with, and you put the field in what you do. I would love to do a presentation, an online presentation for your employees on this topic, and you tell them the topic. Because this will help them with, so then we put the benefits.
Okay, lovely.
If you want to know more about, if you want to have a conversation about this, then please contact me here or respond.
Love it.
Or you can finish, is this something that would interest you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely, lovely.
So it's a very simple message, it's straightforward. There is no in an hurrying or going down different routes, because at the end of the day, with corporates, they don't have, or other companies, they just want to know what you're pitching them. Unless you build a relationship and you have already a relationship built there, a cold pitch needs to be, hey, this is what I'm doing this for free. This is how it's going to help you out. Is it something you're interested in? Yes or no? Yes, great. No, move next. Okay.
Yes, that's wonderful, Simone. Thank you.
That's my pleasure. I've got time for one more question. We got Caroline. Yes,
sorry,
Caroline.
Can you, the last couple of lines that you said there, it just went a bit too quick.
Okay.
Because it was after the benefits, and you said if you're
interested, so in this case, if you're sending a message, say, is this something that interests you? Or is this something that could benefit your company? If yes, let me know here. And we can arrange a call.
So is this something that interests you, or?
Is it something that can benefit your company? If yes, let me know here. Okay. And we can arrange a call.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question? Yes, Keith, go ahead.
I just found this. Oh, hello. It's not a question. I just found this. I just wanted to share this with you very, 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 very quickly. That was the GTeX talk at the farm.
That was the GTeX talk at the farm, man.
And when you look at the venues that GTeX does its talks at today, you can see the power of persistence really does pay off.
Wow, man, I got emotional. That was the beginning. That was wow. All right, yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, a lot of hard work. So, anyone have any other question? Otherwise, we can wrap up. And I'm going to give you something to do before we're going for the next call, because I'm not going to let you off the hook so easily. You thought that it was finished. What I want you to do is now, within 2 weeks, before the next Q&A call that we have in 2 weeks, is to arrange interviews or calls or features, blogs, whatever you want to do, where you interview someone else, at least 5 people. 5 people. They don't have to be done, they have to be booked. You find 5 people that you want to connect with that are a bit farther along the line as you are, and then you connect with them and you do either a podcast interview if you're running a podcast. If you want to do a video on YouTube and doing Zoom, you can do a video and you use Zoom for it. Or if you want, you can have a phone call or a Zoom call, and then you write an article for them. Whatever medium you're using, I don't care. I want you to start creating this connection. I want 5 by next week. In fact, when I'm coming back in next Q&A, I'm going to ask you, who are the 5 people that you've booked? And I'm going to unmute every single one of you. And it's going to be very cringy if you're going to say, I haven't done it. We are really going to judge you very badly. It's going to become a very judgmental group. All right. So Gladys like, oh dear. Simone is on fire. You're harsh. Yes, I am. It's called tough love. Kitty's like, I can't make that meeting. All right, I'll give you a call then. All right, everyone. If there is any other question, I just wanted to check actually with Jennifer. Jennifer, are you there?
Yeah, I'm
Also,
here.
I know that also you're doing like the event business and so on. Have you thought about how to use this in your field, or do you have any question on it?
No, I don't have any question. I've got a lot of work to do though. And the good things that you said, as everybody mentioned, everything you did is very true, because I got an opportunity to work in the Best of Africa Awards last October. Mm-hmm. And by doing volunteer work. So I just jumped in and I ran the event. So I was coordinating the mm-hmm. day. And by doing this, I had access to every single philanthropist, best athletes from Africa, all the high profile people you can ever imagine. I had to take them on stage as speakers for the speakers and the one who were getting awards. So all footballers and all of that. So the great thing about today is, yes, I did give a free of my time, but I've got an amazing case study for my portfolio, mm-hmm. which I'm just starting. So I'm trying to implement everything you're giving every time we're on a coaching, mm-hmm. but it's a lot.
I know.
So I'm trying to follow. And now you're just added on my to-do list, 5 interviews.
You're welcome.
My goodness. Thanks.
Love you too.
Thanks, Simone.
All right, you're welcome.
Bye, guys.
All right, so for everyone, what we're going to do, so today it is about doing this strategy. Then in the next Q&A, we're going to use still this theme as a topic. So if you have any other questions that are coming up, we're going to use the Q&A to still talk about association. And as well, I'm going to do a short session on how to leverage every single interview that you get, every single opportunity that you get, because having it and leveraging, they're 2 different things. So today we talk about getting it. Next time we'll talk about leveraging them. Sounds cool? Awesome. So thank you very much. Give yourself a massive whoop whoop to each other. We got this. Awesome. I'll see you in the group, and keep me updated on the people that you are going to connect. When you have the 5 people that are booked in, put a message in the Facebook group, so then we know that it's done. And otherwise, I'll see you in the group, in the conversation, and then in 2 weeks' time. Ciao. Bye-bye, everyone.